Welcome to the Soul Professional Podcast, a global conversation series where curiosity leads, consciousness expands, and science meets soul. I'm Camille Miller, joined by my co hosts today, Adam Guzman Poole and Adam Dickinson. Together, we explore the questions humanity is finally ready to ask, bridging worlds, perspectives, and ways of knowing. We're not here to provide answers. We are here to open portals to bigger conversations. Today's conversation is with Athena Naia. She is a full-time medicine woman ceremonialist. She brings 19 years of study and practice in the shamanic arts, energy work, and plant medicine to the table. One of her primary focuses is and specialties today is the beautiful tradition of plant dieta, an ancient form of Amazonian healthcare. She also runs a full time healing practice informed by the plant medicine alongside what is similar to internal family systems. She is a huge believer in miracles and the power of the human spirit. Welcome to our show, Athena.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. I'd love to start. We're going to add everyone there. I'd love to start with you telling us a little bit about how you got to your background story, how you got to plant medicine, which is big. And we'll dive deeper into that, into the conversation. But how'd you get to where you are today?
Thank you so much. What really brought me into the plant medicine realm actually was a really challenging loss and a lot of hardship, and my brother, who ended up becoming very unwell through actually the misuse of psychedelics and experiencing psychedelic trauma. It's almost like he went down the shadow realm of it, and I sought out the light aspect of it. And so it started with this idea of searching for a shaman or a healer that could help us translate what mental illness looks like. And because there was a sense that it was like a spiritual sickness. And so I began a pilgrimage down to first in Mexico, looking for traditional healers there. And I had my first ceremonial experience of working with plants in a contained setting where it was actually, it was the right way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I'd done it like many Westerners, just without any guidance or safety really at all. And so there was this beautiful grandmother in a rocking chair, and we had to stay in this little room. She brought out all the mushrooms. I was in Huautla de Jimenez, which is one of the last places where there is more of a traditional culture and practice that's connected to the shamanic arts and plants in that way. And so it was actually very uncomfortable. It was a terrible time, actually. That ceremony was really hard, and I never, I'd always been able to kind of do my own thing, but there I was in this setting where I was being doctored and receiving in a very different kind of way. And after that first initial experience of that imprinting in my system of feeling what that was, something began to change. And then it's a bit of a long story. I actually wrote a book that I won't go into all of it, but that was one of the first times. And then through that, I began deepening, and I ended up finding beautiful teachers that then brought me to Peru, where I began a more formal apprenticeship working in the Amazon jungle with the tribe known as the Shipibo people that are very well known with ayahuasca work. And yeah, and then began learning this ancient form of healthcare, working with plants and yeah, that more invisible realm, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I was in the jungle, I was walking, and as I was walking, it was the first time I could start to hear the plants talk to me. And they were talking so loud, it was so loud. And it was like, and as I was talking, I realized I was outside, I was in a new energetic field where the imprint was different, where people talked to plants and plants talked back. So I was unplugged from regular my mental constructs and put placed into this reality, if you will. And so then after that began my love story, if you will, of beautiful plant communication, and eventually devoted my life to it, and just continue to watch it be like a missing piece for a lot of people who tried everything. I'm often people's last stop. Well, they're like, I did this, this, and this, and then this, we bring in this frequency of plant medicine. And I'm really grateful that I got to see the full spectrum of the other side of the misuse of like what harm can be caused through these same tools when they're used and without proper care. So that's actually quite a big passion of mine, and I support a lot of people with psychedelic trauma. That tends to be people also who come to me. Yeah. Long answer, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. My first question is, what is the difference between plant medicine and something that's like homeopathic medicine? Is it similar? Is it completely different? Do they come to you for different things?
That's a great question. Yeah. So it is similar in the sense that when we're talking about the subtle realms of plant dieta, it is more tuning into that frequency. And so there is a homeopathic essence to it, but you are taking actual plant material into your body. There is information that is in that's connected to Gaia, to the earth,
Yeah.
to the wisdom of nature. Sorry. Yeah. Got it. I got it. Clear. Yeah.
I would like to jump in here.
Go ahead.
So, Athena, I love this. And just for background I have a follow-on question to what you said. So I'm coming from a very logic-centric world. I used to work in the FBI as an analyst and yeah, law enforcement, but I also practice the Akashic Records. What you said about convening and understanding plants from an energetic perspective, I would love if you could share with our listeners what that feels like, what that looks like, any sort of approach to that, because I often get questions myself on how do you tap into the Akashic Records? What are they? And I think at least for like the community, I'm looking to bring forward into this new sort of paradigm. Plant medicine is probably quite foreign to them. So if you could, yeah, explain that, that would be fantastic.
For sure. So, I mean, plant medicine is pretty in nowadays. I would say that we are in a psychedelic renaissance. And so a lot of people are familiar. I imagine your listeners would be familiar. And so I'm talking about two different things, really, which is they're seen as the master plants, if you will, that are psychedelic in nature. And then there are ones that are used, as Camille was saying, that are more homeopathic and more in the subtle realms. And so they're actually connected. And so in the Shipibo tradition, you work with ayahuasca, which is a very strong psychedelic. You purge, you have visionary experiences. Many people will see all kinds of different, they'll have access to their consciousness in a different kind of way. And it's a bit of a blast off. They've actually videoed people with those special cameras that are the infrared cameras where you're able to see kind of the energy body. And what's really interesting is with ayahuasca, post ayahuasca, is that it's almost like what it does is it peels off a bit of the energetic body. And so, like the biofield, if you will, that protective mechanism that is the auric body, it's open in a different kind of way. And so from, in one perspective, it's very positive because there's a lot of, if we're cleaning and clearing things out that aren't meant to be there, or if there's things that, certain traumas, or in the Andean cosmology, we call it hucha, or density that builds up, psychic energy that's trapped in the energy body over a long period of disconnection from self, from source. Then what happens is that we have the access to clear those out much faster than you would, what would take you. A lot of people will say they'll have. We just did a call the other day with one of our groups, and one of the men who had come to ceremony was like, it was like 10 years of therapy in 5 days, right? And so, but that said, when it's so intense, you want to be really careful also, right? So there has to be that care. So, and then with that, in the Amazonian tradition, there is another aspect of healthcare that there's like the strong big guns, if you will. And then there's like the more subtle fortifying forces that are used, like something like Bobinsana. We're holding a Bobinsana dieta right now, and Bobinsana is a master plant. I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to just clear my throat one second. You can edit that up. Okay. Bobinsana is like a master plant that will work to clear grief out of the heart and help bring in that creative inspiration. Something like mugwort is used for dreaming, to attune into that wise elder. Something like the cedar trees that grow here where I live in the Pacific Northwest have been celebrated as forms of purification and abundance and that sense of providership. So every plant has its own frequency. And this is, my view is that our Creator, Great Spirit, has given us these tools and medicines. And in every culture around the world, you will find plant medicine. All of your ancestors used herbal practices to survive. So none of us would actually be here without the plants. And literally, as Adam just, brought us into the breath, all of that breath comes from the plants. So there's a lot of information. We have a very symbiotic relationship with, plant life in that way. So I find, they're just like such dear friends to me, I guess, is how I would describe it. Going off on a little tangent, but I guess that's what, there we go.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that, Athena. There's a lot there, and I'd like to go back to what you were talking about with the right use of the plant medicines, right? Because right now you said that there is this psychedelic renaissance, which is very real. A lot of people are turning to ayahuasca. They're hearing these stories of, like massive transformation in a weekend retreat. And at the same time, it's beautiful, but there is still a lot of like this misuse I'm seeing within it. And people are going to these ayahuasca ceremonies, they're using these substances, and then, they're, you know, they may have like what they call like spontaneous Kundalini awakenings. Their nervous system isn't ready for it. They're like and then there's also that harm in it. So I'm curious, just for the people listening, what is different about the work that you do and guiding people through that? It's not just like, when I was in Peru, I remember I saw like these posters like ayahuasca ceremony, 6 p.m. And it was like, okay, like I'm walking down the road and I'm like, okay, like, and also in the entrepreneurship field too, there's like a big thing there. A lot of people in the like entrepreneur community, there's like weekend visioning retreat with ayahuasca. It's like, okay, like, it's like these high-end tickets. And it's like, so how is your work different? I'm curious. I know, but let our listeners know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel like it's such a, I have such a deep respect for the plant medicines, and I feel that's the first place that we, that needs to always be the foundation, right? To have deep respect and gratitude for these tools, and that's what they are, is they're tools. So similar to, I guess not. So I don't really know too much about the Akashic records, going back to what you were saying, the other Adam. But in a way, though, it is like the Akashic records are records of information, and the plants are similar in that way. They have that there's a lot of wisdom that is within them if we can attune to that subtle realm. So going back to what you're saying about I guess the difference of my work, I don't want to put down people. I think people are doing the best that they can with what they know. And I've made mistakes, and I feel like that's just what happens as you've been on the road for a long time. You make mistakes and then you get better, and you're like, oh, I can learn from that and I can show up in a better way. So, but with our groups, we do put in a lot of prayer and care and preparation, and there's a lot of community support. There's ways for people post ceremony. There's a lot of aftercare that we offer to people. Once I had somebody have a really hard time in ceremony. People tend to have less hard times now, though. That's it. As I think you just get better and better, or I guess God gets better. You get better at allowing God to do it more. I guess it's a hard question to answer, because I guess I feel like the ceremonies are just held by God. So I can't really say. But in terms of what I do my best to show up for in service to this work, because it is such deep work, is to really, like right now we're getting ready for a retreat, and we're praying every single day. We're making offerings to the land, and we're meeting in prayer. And then we just had our group call to just get to know what everybody's working on, and we're going to do another one. And then we're all going to meet together, and then we're going to drink ayahuasca together for the 5 days. And then after that retreat, we'll meet with them afterwards. And then I'm checking in with people individually. So there are those practical things that are in the 3D realm. But then when it comes to what creates a great container isn't just that. I think that's it. Sometimes people think that it's just, oh, if I do this, this, and this, and I'm trauma informed. But when it comes to bringing people into deeply altered states, the energetic hygiene, if you will, has to be like pristine. And so we're getting better at that. And it's, but then also then we just keep giving it to God. So maybe that's why it's good, because God is good. I don't know if that answers the question.
God is good. God is good.
So
I've never gone through an ayahuasca experience. Is that I'd love for the listeners that are curious about it to
yeah,
understand who goes to those ceremonies, what to
yeah,
expect at a ceremony, and like Adam G said, sometimes you see it all over the place. And I've also heard of the other one. Is it psilocybin?
psilocybin, yeah.
Is that similar? Nothing like it? Can you just explain all of that for those who have no idea?
Sure, yeah. So there's all kinds of different um, master plants. And so when something has psychedelic quality to it, that has lineage to it, um, we see it as a master teacher in a plant form.
Hmm.
And so that teacher, that plant teacher, is has different, like a Zen monk teacher, a Zen Buddhist. Let's say that there's going to be different qualities to each teacher.
Okay.
So psilocybin and peyote, wachuma, ayahuasca, all of these, one of the similarities that they have is that there is often a ego disillusionment where you have access to seeing things in a different perspective. And what all shamanic cultures have, and which we all come from, shamanism is the oldest tradition that is still living today. And you can still weave shamanic practice with, I consider myself a follower of Christ, but I practice shamanism. And
Okay.
so, so in the shamanic tradition, you are bringing people into an altered state. That's one of the number one, I guess, an aspect of that phenomena. And in that altered state, whether it was through spinning in many African cultures, people would turn, or drumming, dancing, coming into that place where you step out of the personality. And some of the oldest sacraments throughout time have been plants, if not always plants.
Okay.
And so ayahuasca is one of the strongest plant sacraments that you can find. And so a lot of people will receive incredible healings through working with it in this way. Mushrooms are, not in the same. I guess I'll say this: like I've experienced all of the other ones,
Okay.
and they all have their own flavor, and they all work in different ways with each person. So for somebody, some maybe working with in a quiet psilocybin journey with a therapist could be incredibly beneficial for them when they're dealing with abuse, and they need to really go deep into themselves. And so something maybe a little bit softer. The peyote traditions, you're sitting around the fire eating peyote and you're up all night, and it's very intensive, and then you do a sweat lodge in the morning. The ayahuasca ceremonies what I trained in are different than what I hold now, but you're singing all night, praying all night, and you're in an altered visionary state. And this is where people have access to different aspects of themselves. And in that altered state, they can reprogram themselves. So in a state of meditation, for example, when you're in that deep state of meditation, you can reprogram your nervous system, right? This is where there's this whole new neural network can pop up. And so I'll often invite people in ceremony when they're in that deep state. That's when we're programming our bodies with love and gratitude and compassion. And so that is where one night of ceremony, if you're loving yourself the whole night in this completely altered state, that's where people have healed of chronic illnesses, of these very mystical experiences that they go into. And I was just at a retreat where a mom healed her son of a chronic issue from ceremony. She's sitting on her mat, and she's just felt her hands reach over to him and bless him. And he'd had a chronic illness, and then his chronic illness disappeared after that. So it was really, really beautiful, because you're entering that, as Christ called the eye of the needle, or the eye of the heart, as they say in Tibetan Buddhism. You're entering into that narrow path. So psychedelics can they're fast track, and I only believe they're here because we need them. Otherwise, it's so intense right now. That's why Gaia has given us these.
Particularly now. That's why we're seeing and hearing more about them now. Is that what you're saying?
That's yeah.
Is it possible to get addicted to these types of either ceremony? I don't know if people can get this stuff on their own, but is that a thing to worry about, or having a really bad episode that's not healing?
Yeah, I think you can definitely have a hard journey. But hard isn't bad, I think that's the thing. Hard isn't bad. And you don't really get addicted to ayahuasca. I mean, physiologically, these are not addictive.
Yeah.
And once you've done it in a way that is ceremonial, things change. That's what I was, a lot of people use these medicines recreationally. Joseph Campbell had a great quote that said, "The schizophrenic drowns in the same waters that the mystic blissfully swims through." And I really feel that transfers over to plant medicines, especially psychedelic medicines, not plant medicines, but because if you don't know how to travel through those realms, that's where harm can be caused. And that's where having a really skilled, trained practitioner and facilitator makes a world of difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, you would never try to climb Everest on your own, right? You would get a guide, you would get a Sherpa, you'd get someone, and you do a lot of prep work beforehand. And I know that you do a lot of that. And there you also have that lineage of, and there is something to be said about lineage, about something that's been built on time-tested practices.
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing. And you spoke about something really beautiful, and I'd love to extend a bit more into it. And it was about these miracles, right? Like these miracles are happening in ceremony. There's this woman, and she's tapping into that great force, and she's able to heal not only herself but her son. So I'd love to hear your thought on how are these miracles occurring, what's happening that's making these miracles happen. Yeah, because I know you see them every day. So
this is so many miracles. Yeah. I feel so lucky, because every day, because I'm doing sessions every day with people, and that's where I'm just kind of what is this that's happening? And because for a long time, I used to think it was the plants, but now my practice is informed through them, and I'm really grateful for them. But it's really, all they're doing is teaching us, if you will, whether it's coming into having a big psychedelic experience like ayahuasca, or a more subtle dieta, or Akashic record work, or meditation, or being in the desert eating peyote. It's all energy, right? And it's all our beliefs. And so I've come to learn through the plants. There are all these different ways. I'm sure each of you have gone through your way to get to where you need to go. But it really comes down to what it is that we believe. And so if we believe in miracles, and we believe that we are powerful co-creators with our creator, and that our thoughts and our emotional state matters, then that's what we're living in. And so, I will say that since I started to watch a lot more miracles happen when my framework shifted around that. And so every retreat, I always call in and we'll do a practice of invoking each person's inner healer, where they are tapped into that capacity within themselves to heal, and to their connection to their creator, to the great spirit, to God, to goddess. I don't care what you call it. That intelligent force of life that is beyond the ego, beyond the personality, beyond the form of the body. And that, so when we tap into that, and everybody believes that miracles are possible, and everybody believes that there's a force that is greater than themselves that they have access to, then you bring in something like an ayahuasca. You bring in ayahuasca, and then they're outside of their regular programming, and they're in that altered state, and then they have access, and then they're in the void. They're in the unknown where the miracles can occur, because we're outside of time and space. And quantum physics now is showing that's where the miracles happen. That's where the spontaneous healings happen, are when we actually step outside of time and space. So if we see that all shamanic cultures understood this, right? They did that. That's how they quantum physics and shamanism are like friends. That's what they're saying, the same thing in a different way. So that's where the miracles, I believe, come. It's a very, I kind of know now when a miracle is going to happen, when I can feel it, and I'll often hear it like, oh, this person's going to get a healing. And I'll hear it, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of, and the energy changes and everything opens, and then the beautiful stories come in of, oh my gosh, I just healed that, and then they're different. They're psychologically different, but then also physically, like I've seen crazy things happen. Let's say that. It's what keeps me showing up. Otherwise, it's like kind of a weird job.
I think I would love to build on that. Yeah, I think in a way we all have a weird job. But, uh, I would love to just build on that, because what you're describing really resonates for me and the folks I've been talking with a lot lately, especially what is happening around the world. I'm finding that people are afraid to take this sort of leap of faith and move into that void of miracles, or that area of miracles. If you could describe generally what that kind of calm certainty to navigate the inner awareness from a shamanic point of view kind of looks like, because I remember I actually did an Akashic record reading for a shaman, and oh my gosh, the energy around a shaman is so fascinating. It was like a maze of darkness, and I was like, okay, I try, because when I was supporting the individual, it was very difficult to find answers because I kept getting like blackness, darkness.
Oh.
And for me, I find shamanism very fascinating, but for our listeners, especially those who are less familiar with shamanism, how could you paint a picture of safety, calm, as people are looking for more miracles?
Well, that's really interesting that you could just found darkness. Like, I wonder what that's about. Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like it's a different episode. Like we can have a whole episode on that.
Yeah.
it was an interesting
Be that
way.
person too. It doesn't necessarily be, yeah, but go on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was just the individual had a lot of different layers, compartmentalization.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I had to navigate the energy energetically to help the individual. But in a similar manner, I just know like folks are kind of scared. They're grasping to control, looking for that way to move into more of a leap of faith sort of being. And I'm just kind of curious on your point of view, how do you sort of navigate letting go and navigating this leap of faith from a shamanic point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can answer it from a shamanic point of view, but I will, I'll just answer that in my own way. So, the ego, the human ego that we all have is what is scared. And I do a lot of work with people with, you read that in the introduction about the internal family part systems, and that was informed through the plants. I'd be doing sessions with people. We would be working with what was arising, these fears, these terrified parts that were coming up, and we would start to attune to them like they were, like we could go back. They could have names, or we could go back in time and connect to that lost, confused part. I just actually did that with somebody right before I got on this call. And so when we understand ourselves better, and we understand that, it's often a younger wounded part, whether it's in this incarnation or even from another lifetime, that are terrified or afraid of whatever, of the change, of the unknown, of doing something that we know is really good for us. Then we can really foster compassion for ourselves. And when we, one second. Okay. When we foster compassion for ourselves in that way, and we realize, like, oh my gosh, like, of course, there's this young part that at 7 years old experienced this deep loss. And so in a lot of the work that I do is we go in and we will tap into that inner healer, that part of us that is always connected to source, to God, to Great Spirit, and go back and reclaim that time with love. And that could just be, blessing that young part that feels afraid. So for the parts, so to answer your question, I'm kind of answering it a little bit like in a sideways way, but for the people that are feeling like, I don't know how to find my way forward, is one thing you can do is ask yourself is, okay, is there how old is that part of me that feels lost and confused? How old? And you'll often hear an age. How old are you? 5 years old. Okay. And then you can just see what's happening at that time at 5 years old. What happened at that time? Oh, okay, well, mom and dad were fighting about this and that, and I felt all alone. And then you can start to just attune and unblend, if you will, and see that there's this part of you that's really terrified. And it might sound simple, but it can be incredibly helpful, because then you have space and you can feel yourself in a different kind of way. And you realize, oh, the whole that is me, is not actually terrified of this change. It's just actually this young part of me. So what does this young part of me need? It needs to be loved. It needs to feel attuned to. What do you need? I need a hug. I need to be told that it's going to be okay. I need to feel witnessed. I need to feel heard. That's it. And in that, you're just witnessing and hearing, and then, oh wow, it's not so scary. Okay, I can do that scary thing. I can step forward. I can ask that girl out on a date. I can go for that, start my own business and post a story on Instagram and wonder if people think that I'm a weirdo, and then we step forward outside of that, So a little bit of a long answer to get to it, but I found that very helpful. And I know that many of the people I work with benefit greatly. And I work with I'm so woo-woo, and I work with heads of companies, politicians. I just speak as I am. I never cater. And they get better. I watch them. I watch miracle after miracle. So I guess I'm very confident in it. I've seen enough of it work. Yeah. Okay.
I I'm curious. We've talked a lot about the psychedelic side of the plants. Do
Yeah.
you also, in your own practice, use plants for other types of illness, injury? Like, what else are you healing out there?
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of use the strong plants very sparingly, like
Okay.
ayahuasca. I only work with ayahuasca.
Okay.
There are other people I work with that work with mushrooms or peyote or wachuma. I'm a monogamous. So when it comes to like it's my path. And so with ayahuasca, I will run retreats and ceremonies through the year with people, but it's not all the time. And it's I'm really passionate about plant dieta because what I found is that through the practice of plant dieta, where maybe I'll explain it to you what we do.
Okay.
So, plant dieta is a really old practice that comes from, it's thousands of years old. And when somebody was sick with a psychological illness, say they lost, a family member that they loved, and they were dealing with grief, or if they had a physical illness, they would be put on a plant dieta. And so there are different types of plants for different types of things. And so, if you have a lot of static energy in your brain, you would be put on, a plant called Wari Cuspi in the jungle, which I dieted, and it was like little brain surgeons coming in to fix my brain. It's wild. I'm able to do a lot more things since then.
Yeah.
So, plant dieta is a practice. It's called dieta, which is because you're following a series of protocols through the foods that you eat, through what you're consuming media-wise. You're watching your thoughts, and you're in a more altered, sensitive space. So the curandero or curandera will open your dieta, if you will, or your connection to the plants through a song called a Icaro. And that song is it's like a connector, if you will, to the natural world, to Mama Gaia. And it's welcoming the spirit of this planet. It's saying, okay, this person is going to be in deep relationship with this plant. So let's use the example of something your listeners would know, like a cedar tree. We do cedar diets all the time. And so we're welcoming the spirit of the cedar tree, think of it like homeopathic medicine, the frequency of it into your daily life. That's coming into your dream time, into your conversations. You're asked to not gossip, talk politics. You're watching what you speak for a series of weeks. And so there's big lifestyle shifts that are asked. If you don't follow those protocols, in the Amazonian tradition, there's something that's called a cross in the diet. So the diet is growing inside of you. It's like there's a seed that's been planted and it's growing and it's cleaning some of the debris from your past and some of the energy that you've been carrying. So the plant frequencies are cleaning and clearing. And sometimes that can feel very intense when stuff's coming up for people.
Okay.
So then, as I was saying, sharing with people's inner healer, we're constantly calling in their inner healer to help. And then, but the cross, we ask the inner healer to help, uncross, because certain thoughts can kind of make your diet not grow in the best way. So it's really like a tending, if you will, to a garden. So that practice is a beautiful practice, and there's no psychedelics involved. And I've seen, it's amazing. I'll put people in a plant dieta who are like, this is so weird, but you're like my last stop lady, And I'm just kidding. I heard you helped my friend and this lady, and then I'll put them in a plant dieta and they'll be like, whoa, like I feel so much better. And oh my gosh, I'm dreaming again. I'm sleeping for the first time. in years properly. Wow, I'm noticing the frequency of when I'm gossiping or when I'm speaking unkindly to somebody in a different kind of way. And I feel how that doesn't feel right in my system. And so then there's those subtle adjustments, right? Of coming off track, coming back on track. And so that's a beautiful technology, a spiritual technology that has been stewarded by guardians for thousands of years, that I'm so honored to carry and share with people. So that's that. But then I always encourage people, like, make tea and talk to your tea. Make a cacao and just like breathe it in, and remember nature is always communicating with us, right? And it can just be so simple. And then we regulate and we feel better and we feel calmer. And we're like, oh, it's like in the traditional, is it the Anishinaabe speak about honey being a medicine for when you feel lost about the world. Right? To think of the honeybees and how they all work together. And so, yeah, that's connected to the plants. The bees are all connected to the plants. So, well, yeah, so something like that.
I have one question because I know we've been talking for a while, but I thought about this earlier. In your early days of being in the Amazon, when you said the plants started talking to me, can you take us back to like what was that experience like? Because I can imagine it being a little frightening, a little cool, like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to plants all the time now, and I
What about
feel,
the first time?
yeah, the first time. The thing is, though, I actually believe that most of us as children spoke to plants and have had conversations with plants, but we just probably forgot about it.
That makes sense.
We had some sort of attunement. I know I did,
Yeah.
But the first time that I heard the loud voices, I was like, oh, and I felt curious and excited and a little confused.
So is
And
it telepathic, like voices in your head?
I
What
don't
do
know.
you hear?
It was very loud.
Okay.
It was not just like, I know what it's like when it's like a whisper or a
Yeah.
sense, but I was in a plant dieta, which means I was in what they call the nete, the universe of the plant world was open. And then I could hear them speaking, like you and I are speaking. And in the ayahuasca tradition, here's the other thing that's really cool, if your listeners don't know about this, is that ayahuasca, other plants like, psilocybin, you pick the mushroom, you eat it. Ayahuasca is not like that at all. It is two plants, ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaf. And if you see them growing in the Amazon, they do not grow beside each other. There's over 10,000 different species of plants in the Amazon. And it's only created over cooking them together over a long period of time that creates a psychedelic effect. And so it's a vine, and you have to chop up the vine and then put the leaves in. So it's this very vigorous process. It's not easy to make ayahuasca, and anybody who tells you that they've never made it is a big job to make it. And you ask the people, how did they figure that out? They're like, oh, the plants told us.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I assume medicine's like that too, right?
Pardon?
I assume medicine, old herbal medicine, plant
Yeah.
medicine is like that too. And that's how it all started. Like when we say a medicine woman way back, is because they knew what the plants told them. That actually makes a lot of sense to me, more than they just tried a lot of recipes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Amazing.
In Peru, they often will say, if you're ever like talking about an illness with somebody outside, so say you're just like, oh yeah, my stomach hurts or whatever, to pay attention, because you'll usually have the remedy right at your feet. So to notice and say, oh, the medicine, because the earth we are in relationship with the earth. This is the way that our year has given this to us. It's a gift. So the earth has all that we need in this way. Most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that as well. Yeah. Oh, now when I go hiking, because I'm an avid hiker.
Yes. Yeah. Just be careful what mushrooms you try.
Yeah. Well, I don't try anything. I don't try. I did once take like
not yet, but just after this conversation, just wait. We might.
I did take like a survival class one time to see, like, not that I was ever getting lost in the woods, but like what you can eat, what you cannot eat. So that would be yeah. But I would never try a mushroom, but
yeah, probably.
I do talk to the trees all the time. And I had a tree. I lived in a house once, and I had this huge, like, giant tree. And I always felt it was my protector. Like it was protecting my family. And still today, I've moved from that house and I still talk to that tree. I talk to the tree all the time. And I have a tree in my backyard now that's really small. And I'm like, can you tell that tree that I'm thinking of? Like, it's like,
do you see how you're talking? That's so beautiful.
There's one tree in my life that I felt was a protector of me and my family. It was when I divorced and moved there with my girls.
Oh, I love that.
I still talk to the tree. I don't know why.
And that tree, I mean, and through the mycelium network, they can talk, right? Yeah. So I believe that. Yeah, I believe that 100%. I just need to put my charger in. I'm so sorry, you guys. I have to.
Oh, no.
But keep going.
Adam G, you wanna?
Well, well, this is it. I think we'll about to we'll probably wrap this up, but I just want to
okay. I was having so much fun with you guys.
We could just talk for hours. But we usually ask this question, sort of like a version of this question, at least, is, this is the sole professional conversation. And so, like, a sole professional is like, we really believe that business can be a force for good in this world. Like, it's like this amazing force. And you're in this, you're in a healing business, and so I'm curious to know, like, what do you feel is like the responsibility of a sole professional in today's day and age?
Yeah. So since I'm talking a lot about plants here, I'm going to talk about how the plants helped me in making a business. So I was in the Amazon jungle, and I was in a long dieta. I was drinking a lot of ayahuasca at that time. I mean, and I actually had my kids with me in the jungle at that time. They weren't drinking ayahuasca or anything like that, but the ceremonies were at night, and it was a really beautiful time because we were off grid, and I was like washing diapers, and there was no, like, I was just like washing diapers one day, and my cloth diapers, and it was a really beautiful time with the kids because, we were unplugged from regular life. And I just kind of want to let your listeners know, like, my kids were taken care of. Like, I wasn't just, tripping out. Like, I had a beautiful Shipibo nanny, and everybody was safe, and it was really good. But yeah, probably don't bring your kids to the Amazon jungle looking back.
Good advice.
Anyway, I was like in my apprenticeship, and I was really, like, I was just talking to the great mystery, and I was just like really giving thanks for this time that I was in, and I was like, and then I started to look at all the plants around me, and I was like, can you help me? Like, I have no money. Like, we have nothing. Like, I don't know what to do. I have to provide for my children. I want to walk my path. I know this is my path. how am I going to do this? Like I know that I'm here to serve the world in my own unique way, but like I got to buy food and I'm not growing all my food yet. And so then I dropped into this visionary state. I was not in a it's non-psychedelic, but I was in a deep trance. And in this vision, I saw the seed planted under the earth, in this beautiful soil. And then I saw all these seeds just start to rise up out of the soil up towards the sun. And it was so beautiful. And they were like, oh, just do this. Just rise up to the sun. And look, the rain, pours onto the earth, and we receive the nourishment from the soil, and we rise up to the sun. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. And then I just didn't get it. I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm not a plant, and I can't just, do that. And I kind of rolled my eyes because I didn't get it, But within that was actually some very important instructions for business. And it took me actually a few years to unpack that. And so as I began to unpack it through, clearing out of my old belief systems, because we talked about the beliefs being a big part of that, as I really began to realize that in order to have a fifth dimensional business or a sacred business in service to the collective, I did actually have everything I needed. I had the blueprint within me to really thrive like a plant. I had that within me, like a sunflower seed or a cedar tree or a rose. The seed has the blueprint to that flower. And I had that within me. And I believe everyone who feels to step towards conscious entrepreneurship has that within them. They have their own unique hue of light that is like nobody else. It's like you can't look at a tiger lily and be like, it's like if the rose was looking at the tiger lily and be like, oh, look at the tiger lily. Like, she's so orange, And then you miss what you are. And so, and what you're here, the scent, the fragrance that you're here to bring to life. So bringing that to business and to entrepreneurship, every person that feels that call, and why it's so important is that nobody can do it but you. It's your own. It's like it's given to you through source. And when you stop trying to be like other people, you do a lot better than you would. So going back, can I talk a little bit more about this? Because I just okay. So I was in a So going back to that question, Adam, which you were saying, why is it important? I just want to make sure I answer that correctly.
No, it's like, well, what's the what's our responsibility as a soul professional?
As a soul professional, yeah, right. Okay, what's our responsibility? So if we see that the system at large is corrupt and distorted, and the frequency that created a lot of the system is, just not who we really are, like what our greatest calling is, then creating a conscious business that is rooted in love and truth and, your own unique blueprint naturally will disrupt that system. It can't not do that. And I think that sometimes we think that it has to be huge. It has to be this big thing. We have to affect millions or billions of people's lives. And I actually feel like that is one of the biggest things that stops people from stepping forward, right? And so if you can just do your part, and your part is enough, and then you'll get instructions. You'll be like, okay, this is what I'm doing right now, and then it might change. And yeah, and I mean, for me, like the plants have completely informed my business, and it's taken me some time to be okay calling it a business because I thought being a shamanic practitioner and a healer, that, oh, like I shouldn't do that. Like it needs to not, be a business or whatever. But if I see it as a business, as like sacred, you know, that it's like God is there too, and that there's not a separation between that, then it's really awesome, and I feel, yeah, excited about that.
That is a beautiful answer. It really, and I think it really just hits at the heart of what we're trying to all do here, and
Yeah,
and the authenticity of each I love your rose and tiger lily example, right? It's like you
yeah,
be you, because
yeah,
your uniqueness is needed in the world, and each of us were given such special gifts that are uniquely for us. I love that
yes.
example.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. I really believe that. I really know that's real. You can't convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Athena, how would people get in touch with you if they wanted to learn more about your work in the world?
Well, I wrote a book that you can read that is
What's it
really,
called?
it's called Memoirs of a Medicine Woman.
Love it.
Um, yeah, and I thought that's it. Like you just be yourself, right? Like it's definitely.
Can they
I
get
guess
that book on Amazon? How do they
you can
find
get
that
that on
book?
Amazon. Yeah,
Okay. Memoirs of a Medicine Woman.
and it's a story. It's called Plants, Jesus, and Ayahuasca Icaros is the subtitle, and then a love story on how everything is working for your liberation, and it's all about
Ooh,
that. And it's just like wild, crazy stories.
It's
fabulous.
it's it's a page turner. It's a
It's a
page
page
turner.
turner.
Yeah,
Thanks,
so
Adam.
Amazon bestseller, page turner. So pick that up at Amazon. And is there anywhere else that we can get in touch with you, Athena? Yeah.
Yes, you can get in touch. You can join our mailing list at Earth Temple Retreats, earthtempleretreats.com. And we hold plant dietas remotely through the year. So you can join wherever you are in the world. And they're really great. They're probably the best way to really tap into the frequency of what it is that we offer. And you get a prayer buddy, an accountability buddy, and we meet twice a week. And yeah, it's a deep dive into plant spirit medicine and the magic that is. And I just did actually entrepreneurship, like informed by Bobinsana, a focused entrepreneurship container. And there were all kinds of epic entrepreneurs in there. So yeah, like we're all about 5D business. The plants want it. Like I feel like Gaia wants that for us.
That's
For
incredible.
Yeah.
And I'll shamefully plug Athena. I was in that container and it was epic. Like
Uh,
hands down, like mic drop epic, amazing people. So if any of this resonated with you listeners, reach out to Athena and I'll pass it to you, Camille, and you can close us out. Yeah,
Fantastic. Yeah, Athena, thank
yeah.
you. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom with us.
I hope I
Um,
didn't talk too much.
no, it's fine. That's what we are, long form, and we do it on purpose. So we can just have the open conversation. And I appreciate your time. Yeah,
Uh,
you're in Canada now, is that correct?
yes,
You're
I
on the
am in
Pacific
Canada.
Coast? Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I just thought I'd say that. Well, I just want to thank you for being
So
on the show and sharing your wisdom with us.
thank you so much, Camille, and thank you, Adam and Adam Dickinson, and yeah, both the Adams, and I just really honor what you guys are doing and bringing conscious business to the soulpreneur. I love that. This feels so important in these times that we're in.
We
Yeah.
agree. Thank you. And all of Athena's information will be in the show notes, no matter where if you're seeing this on YouTube or Spotify or anywhere your podcasts can be downloaded. I want to thank everyone for joining us for this episode of the Soul Professional Podcast. This is part of the Soul Professional Global Conversation Series. If today's dialogue sparks something for you, we invite you to continue the conversation by subscribing wherever you are, sharing this episode, and connecting with the Soul Professional community at soul, S-O-U-L, professional.com. This series is an open invitation to explore, question, and expand together. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and stay connected. Bye, everyone.